Okay, so I'm getting ready to talk more about the woman. It needs to be addressed when it comes to our mind state, our mentality. When it comes to our intuition and people using our intuition against us, because that's what's been happening for generation and that's what's still happening today. So, which is where the term crazy come from. Crazy woman, she's crazy. Or bitter woman, old bitter woman. When you hear old bitter woman or crazy woman, that means that's an intuitive woman. That is a wise woman. And people create this stuff and say these things about women so that other younger women or any other woman who has not reached that peak yet will not go near her. Okay? So whenever you hear someone is crazy or this, that, and the other, they be saying wild things. They're not right in their head. They're a witch. Yeah, you are a witch. And they know this, which is why they train and tell other people that you're crazy and you're nuts and you're old and you're bitter so that no one can actually listen to you. So with our intuition, we are groomed as little girls, actually by our own parents, mother and father, play a role in this. And it starts with a lot of us. I can't speak for every woman, but I can speak for enough listening to their stories that a lot of us are actually, you can call them a witch, you can call them a sorceress, you can call them a priestess, it doesn't matter. So we get those knowings, clear, like I'm clear cosmic, I'm all the clairs. We get those visions and we get those dreams, yo. So I remember being a little girl, and as a little girl, I always had dreams and I always had visions. I've always had these knowings, but coming from the time and the era that I'm from, this wasn't talked about. There was nobody helping a lot of us from my time. Gen X are here. So what happens is we don't know who to talk to because this subject was not talked about in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s. So I was closed off from talking about my visions, my knowings, and my dreams. So I never went to anybody. And that's because as a little girl, I got shut down. We get knocked down as little girls when you open up and talk about the things you see, feel, and hear. And they tell you, that's not true. That's not what you really saw. And then if you talk about your dream, dreams aren't real. Those aren't real. Don't believe your dreams. We are taught this at a very young age. I know I was taught that dreams aren't real. Don't pay them any attention. Your visions, that is the devil's work. Okay. You know where I'm going with this. So what happened is, as that little girl, all little girls who's being told this early on, you're being groomed to go against yourself, for you to be selfless for some imbecile when you become an adult. So you're going against yourself as a child because your parents is telling you that your visions are wrong, your dreams don't exist, what you thought you saw you didn't see, what you thought you heard you didn't hear. So you were already told to go against your intuition as a little girl, because when you brought these things up, they said that this isn't real. So okay, you're battling, okay, well, they saying that this isn't real, but this feels so real to me. So what happened is, that's where the battle starts. Because as a little girl, you see those dreams, visions, and knowings are actually manifesting and popping up all over the place. And as a little girl, you don't have anybody helping you to cultivate your gifts. So they just, you end up going against it fully, because that's what you were taught, to go against it so that people can get over on you later on in life, as a child and later on in life. So going against yourself consistently over time, your spidey senses, whatever you want to call it, it starts to go down some. It starts to become null a bit. It starts to get cut off. It starts to be muffled where you can't really hear it because you don't trust yourself based off of your young childhood, people telling you, your caregivers and parents telling you that what you see, what you got isn't real. So you going back and forth with what somebody telling you is not real, but you feel like it's real. So that alone is what skewed the mind of young girls, impressionable girls, because they've been told that what they get from their own self is wrong and is in error. So what happens is, and again, that's gaslighting. I'm just saying that is gaslighting. So she's been gaslighted as a little girl already before she even got into the world. So what happens is, over time, later on, she becomes what we call mentally off, or I was just say delusional. And the only reason why she's delusional is because she's been taught that what she thinks she know is not. She's been going with herself for the longest as a kid until she started opening up her mouth and people start telling her that she's wrong. So again, the battle started there. So, which means she don't know whether she's going or coming. So when you go out into the world as an adult, you're having these visions again, these dreams, these knowings. You're seeing ahead of yourself. And what you do the same thing you did as a little girl. I know I did. I'll go to the person and I'll address it. And by addressing it, a lot of us learned this is how we got more gaslit, to make us feel more crazy than we already think we are, because people keep telling us what we feel is wrong to go with somebody else's feeling. So with all of this gaslighting back and forth, she becomes delusional, and in a delusional mind state. She feel like she's losing her mind because she don't know whether to trust herself or trust the people on the outside of herself. And when she follows the people on the outside of herself, things get worse for her. It gets worse to the point where she's really starting to lose her mind over time, because again, she don't know whether she's coming or going. She do not know how to trust herself, because remember, as a child, she was told not to trust herself, to trust the people on the outside of her, like her parents, her mother, her father, her grandmother, whoever's around, even her brothers. So then you got everybody around her who's going against her, making her feel like she's crazy. So, okay, if you got this many people coming against this young girl, making her think that her intuition, her God self is off, then she's going to eventually fight that. This is how the people pleaser is born, because when she's trying to be herself, everybody around her young self is telling her, no, you are wrong. Do not listen to yourself. If you listen to yourself, you're going to be crazy. Listen to us. We know what's better for you. So she was being groomed from her own fucking parents, from her own fucking mother. A lot of the fathers did not step in for a lot of these girls. Clearly, it's why women have went astray, because the fathers did not step in to let most of these daughters know that men are predatory. And they're going to prey on them by turning them even more further away from their own inner guidance, their own inner compass, their intuition, their inner voice. So your own father is not telling you that. So it's like your father is also setting you up for you to go out in the world and actually get got. This is predatory behavior. And I remember years ago hearing this from older women older than I, talking about they are predatory. And I didn't want to believe it. Because also as little girls, we're taught so much to go against ourselves that if someone else tell us some truth, we'll go against that too. So it's like you just continue to keep going with what someone is telling you on the outside. And again, you're still battling internally, which is why women always seeking advice and counsel, because they don't know whether they're coming or going. They keep getting this insight, but somebody on the outside is telling them that they're wrong. For example, I've had men in my life where I known things, I felt that it was happening, just felt that it was happening. I didn't have any hardcore physical 3D evidence, but I felt that something was off. Because people tell you when something's off. They mannerisms, their body, how they move, their patterns. You will know when something's off. I've always noticed that about myself. But when I said something to the males, oh, it's not that. They'll keep lying and keep lying. So what that made me do as a young woman, it made me go out and look for the 3D hardcore physical evidence, because something in me already knew that the world clearly, because when I was trained and when people were coming at me, so I already knew that I was going to be looked at as crazy anyway, which is why I kept my dreams and my intuition and all that shit to myself for 30, 40 years. And not a lot of people really knew, because I knew women were deemed crazy at a young age. So anyway, it makes me go out and look for the 3D physical evidence to be able to back up what I already know, what I already feel, the visions I saw, as well as a lot of times it comes in a dream. So that makes me an investigator. I'll turn into an investigator. I'm really good with figuring things out. I'm really good with piecing puzzles together. So I'll always find the hardcore evidence. And then I'll come to said person, said male, and this is what I saw. I saw this. I know you're doing this. You have all the proof, my intuition, my feeling, my knowing, and I got the hardcore evidence, because I know we have to go get the hardcore evidence. And we do that for ourselves because we already been manipulated so long to the point where we think we're crazy anyway. We think we're nuts, which is why we go looking for the 3D hardcore physical evidence to be able to prove to them, I'm not crazy. But you're not realizing you're trying to get them to see that you're not crazy. They know you're not crazy, okay? And this is the thing that a lot of us women did not know. So we go with them, and even then, even with this, presenting this hardcore evidence, he would still say, that wasn't me. I didn't do that. That wasn't me. There was another time where I had evidence, physical evidence. I always have the spiritual evidence first. I just look for the 3D later. So I had already had the knowing. So I go look for the evidence, the physical evidence later. Found some evidence on the male. And I even saw it in the phone. And he took the phone from me and erased it, deleted it, and then told me, I don't know what you're talking about, handed me the phone back and said, I'm telling you, I didn't do anything. I didn't do that. So he literally handed me the phone and everything was erased when I saw it before. So knowing that this is how a lot of women lose their fucking mind and become more delusional, because these men constantly encouraging and pushing them to believe that they're crazy, and what you think you saw, you really didn't see. And this type of shit that really fucks with a woman's mind, because she's battling herself, because she wants to believe him. So, and again, it's because we were raised that way, and men have been raised to be predators, to not have any consequences for the things they do. So you can't really blame a man for the thing that he does, because he's not doing anything, really. So going against yourself causes these delusional mind states for many women, to the point where they go against themselves and they can't trust themselves ever. So they'll just continue to keep seeking outside counsel from other people who's going to continue to keep leading them down to a burning furnace, because they know that women are going against themselves.